Velocity Mooney. I decided I go live right quick about a quick line of thought that I got caught up in and whatnot. Um yeah, Rahu being white people, Ketu being black people. Before I get into this, I hope I don't get flagged for this live first of all. You know what I'm saying? This is not anything that's racially motivated or, you know, I'm not trying to put it to the man or you know it ain't none of that race war ideology thinginess or whatever people want to call it, right? I'm very much so a peaceable person. I would like to believe I respect each individual by the integrity of their character, their natural character. It's not about race, color, or any of those dynamics. But for the sake of, what happens in the world, things that have actually happened, certain patterns of certain aspects of reality, you know, and studying astrology, I just want to do a quick video, in reference to the line of thought that I caught myself within or whatnot. So yeah, Rahu representing white people and K2 representing black people. Now, this is just from a general, scale of observation. Of course, K2 is not going to represent every black person because every black person doesn't act the same or carry themselves the same, you know. Uh, of course, Rahu is not going to represent or be a direct reflection of every white person. Every white person is of the same fabric or of the same cloth. Every white person doesn't carry themselves the same, right? Um, and it's this again. I'm saying, I hope I don't get flagged. I'm not trying to turn this into a racial thing of that nature. Just merely for documentation, right? You know what I'm saying? Just for the science of astrology or whatnot. Is the purpose that I'm doing this video. But yeah, getting into a Rahu is people, So when you think about Rahu, it has the ability to present himself as the superior, as the dominant one through illusion, through deception, through destruction of, the truth, through obscuring the truth, through hiding the truth, making the truth not present or whatever, through changeability, through inventing a new system, through creations of different illusions and mirrors and images and, light shows and things that seem fanciful and, mystical and occult and, pretty much just like magic, like illusions, like control of perception. You feel me? Control of perception, casting spells, right? Putting a veil of darkness over people's eyes and causing people to not be able to perceive the truth. This is the specialty. This is the ability. This is the, guess you can say, the gift, or you know what I'm saying, the power of Rahu, right? And through this manipulative power, he uses this power to be able to attain pretty much the leadership position or obtain the control, obtain the dominion, obtain the kingship, whatever a person wants to call it, right? And it's all through lies. It's not the truth. You feel me? The magic or the mystery of Rahu. If a person was able to see through it, if a person was able to kill it, if a person was able to dismantle it, then they could very easily step, back in their position of power and not even be phased by Rahu, because Rahu's power is not rooted in reality. It's just ideas and imagery and convincing and deception, lies and whatnot, right? And this is pretty much, you know what I'm saying, the way of the so-called Caucasian race. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? More so, especially since 14, 92, or that particular operation took place, and the world was excavated into a different world order. Peace, Ryanator 15. Peace and blessings. Please don't use those numbers on my live. Those numbers are very painful to see now. Everybody has overused those numbers. Let's use every number in the number scale except those two numbers. Like, those two numbers need serious rest. Those two numbers have been used enough. Ow, that hurt. You just type those two numbers again. That causes pain, but I'll forgive you. But anyway, let me stay back on topic. Yeah, Rahu, the influence of Rahu. So yeah, Rahu was like white people, right? And the history of white people. Once again, I don't want this to be a racially derogatory live. If you happen to be a white person or a black person in here, I hope you will be able to sit through the discussion or the conversation that I'm having with myself, right? I hope nobody would be able to take offense. We just want to look at the events of his history as they are, unveil the mystery of the history, and to just come to deeper levels of understanding, if possible, right? Yeah, right, Nader. That was definitely a black joke. I'm going to neither confirm nor deny whether I like chicken. I feel like that would be betraying myself. Uh, but yeah, let me stick to the topic. All right. So, uh, but yeah, Rahul. So Rahul, as the white people, you know what I'm saying? Like, pretty much before 1492, but since 1492, you know what I'm saying? The history has pretty much been conflated, has pretty much been, overturned. It's been, you know, a lot of different illusions, deceptions, you know what I'm saying, malinformation that's been inserted into, you know, what is the world, the planet Earth, the history of Earth and white people, you know what I'm saying? After 1492, there's pretty much a narrative that, especially within the last couple 100 years or whatever, it's pretty much a narrative that, we have this group of Europeans, and they pretty much are the leaders and the innovators of all forms of technology, all forms of civilized life, governance, civilization, structures of society, yada yada yada, et cetera, et cetera. They pretty much are the ones who started all of this. Like, before, what I'm saying, the European, before the New World exploration and the transatlantic slave trade and all these different things or whatever, uh, you know, all of the other races besides the European, and you can even say the Mongolian, the pale Asiatic or whatever, these are pretty much the ones who were civilized, and all of the African or the darker peoples, the original peoples, aboriginals, whatever people want to call them, these people was pretty much booty scratchers, or, just somewhere swinging on grapevines and eating bananas and wrestling gorillas and whatnot, right? But it's not the case. It's a lie, and it's a lie with a purpose. You feel me? Because as the individuals or the Caucasians wanted to assume, a certain level of power or dominance on the world stage, they had to do away with all of the hidden, ancient, occult, knowledge, records of civilized society, you know what I'm saying, that darker peoples, or not even just Africans, but Aboriginal peoples held all across the planet. You know what I'm saying? It's not even just Africa. It was, you could say, if you want to call them black, let's just call them black. Let's not make it complicated. I'm not I'm not going to get into the semantics and all that for this live, but it's black people all over the planet that's been holding different civilization, that's been, hinting towards advanced technologies within their societal structure, right? That's been knowing things about the universe that we didn't even just we are just now discovering. You feel me? Within the past 50 so years or whatever, you know, like the ancient civilizations that have been knowing how to reach these forms of understandings and do certain things that the so-called European or the white man is just now catching up to. So it's like, how can we say those people were primitive or those people were savages or they were just blood sacrifices or, you know what I'm saying? They was just, banana eating, doo doo scratching, savages or whatever, right? It's not the truth. Like, even in today's age, we can't even replicate the technology that was used to build the pyramids. If they did something, if they did an event thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, right? They manifested an event, but this is so-called a primitive civilization, right? If they were able to manifest that certain structure or event in their time, and we can't do it right now, the only reasoning for this particular thing is we don't have an advanced enough technology to reproduce what they produced back then. That's all. We can't say they were less advanced, or we can't say they were a stupider civilization, or whatever. You feel me? We can't say none of those things about them. And it's even kind of conflated in today's time. A lot of people believe, the Egyptians or Cometians or whatever individuals want to call them were European people, but Egypt is a part of Africa. Some people hate to even some people hate to even acknowledge that. You know, there's some books you can read that'll tell you like it was a mass immigration of European people into North Africa or whatever around the 1700s, right? Before the 1700s, North Africa was pretty much no different than a tribe in Sudan or Kenya or some shit. Like, that whole continent was populated with very dark individuals. But anyway, right? The functionalities of Rahu. Rahu is power hungry. He's focused on dominance, you know, and his strength is in his intelligence, his ability once again to mask the truth, to hide the truth, to lie, to make you believe a lie, to persuade you to believe a lie, to convince a person to believe this is the truth, this is the story. Now, give me your money, you know what I'm saying? Give me your resources, or give me your identity, and you take this because this is actually yours, you know what I'm saying? Because we actually brought you over here on a boat, 400 years ago. And, that is the way that history went or whatnot, right? And you shouldn't argue against that because that's the truth and that's the proven truth, even though we don't necessarily have physical records to produce or, to replicate, a lot of the ship landings or the transportation of slaves or whatever. Or we do have records that record, slaves coming over here. But a good number of some of the slaves were actual nobles or high ranking men, high ranking monarchs, even that had got captured into slavery for whatever reason. And they actually, petition or escape that system somehow. And I just got a notification. But yeah, what was I saying? But yeah, Rahul. Yeah, pretty much the deception game, right? The playing of the deception game. Rahu was like Destiny Swap. You know what I'm saying? Like taking somebody else's stealing. Rahu definitely deals with stealing, robbing deceitfully, convincing a person, hey, this is the right thing, even though it's a lie. This is not the truth. I'm gonna make you believe the truth, take the other resource and leave the other with nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's the functionalities of Rahu. Rahu was also very advanced technologically, or it's advanced from a technological and you could say an occult perspective, but a perspective that is used for material manipulation to gain. That's what a Rahu was advanced in. That's what Rahu was gifted at, you know. And that's pretty much the way of the quote unquote white people or whatnot. Not to say that all white people are like that. They definitely aren't. Again, I don't want to make this a racially motivated live of some sort. I don't want nobody to feel like, oh, he's one of those Hebrew guys that, stand on the corner and get the yelling and you know what I'm saying, get the pointing at the Bible and screaming at the European and you feel me, shouting that we was kings, by eating some barbecue lemon pepper wings, and I'm not one of those guys, okay? I'm just merely, listening certain aspects of the Rahu Ketu theme and how I can connect to the racial narrative that we currently live within, because this is just a current system thing. You know what I'm saying? Like white and black people aren't necessarily a universal construct. It's a very limited construct within this current system time period that we happen to exist within. Right? So yeah, so K2. So how does K2 relate to black people, right? So K2 has a natural spiritual expression about itself, right? A natural level of mastery, a natural level of, you know what I'm saying, been there, done that, mastered that particular thing, have achieved this pinnacle, this mountaintop, you feel me, have laid the flag on this mountaintop, have mastered the different sciences, the different forms of understanding, programming, genetic code, astrological search, or, have just mastered and have gained, you know, resource out of the different aspects of reality. You feel me? K2 has that spiritual, natural, innate intelligence or whatever, right? But the K2 is the more humbling end of the spectrum, right? K2 shows where too much of a particular thing has been done or consumed. Now the individual needs to really much so detox, you feel me? Or detach, pull away from the material lock, the material bondage, the material headlock, or whatever somebody wants to call it. I appreciate it, bro. But yeah, K2, it represents, um, you know, we've pretty much been around the hamster wheel and have, done a lot of these different things. We've built the pyramids, you feel me? We've built the pyramids of Giza, you know what I'm saying? The different Mayan pyramids or the different mounds or whatever. We've erected the, you feel me? The Sphinx and you know what I'm saying, the Angkor Wat and all these different temples to different, you know what I'm saying, Sumerian or Vedic gods or you feel me? Not even that. Like we've mapped out our section of the cosmos, you know what I'm saying? We've mapped out different realities, understandings, and we've pretty much encoded it into nursery rhymes that people want to call, religion or spiritual traditions or, whatever, right? We've done all that. We've done all that to extremely deep degrees. And it's like, how do we transcend or how do we really as a race level up and remove ourselves from the body identification ego lock, right? This is what K2 is for. The thing about K2 is it's a real humbling graha. It's a real humbling influence. It's a real humbling, uh, it has a real humbling expression or whatnot, right? And Rahu is power hungry, right? Rahu is allowed to dominate. Rahu is new. You feel me? It deals with new things. It deals with new things, and it's out of its newness. It kind of has like a ignorance about itself too, right? Kind of has like a natural ignorance, like almost the ignorance of a baby to a certain degree. So, and it has like a, I don't want to say voidness of karma, but it has like a not enough experience, right? Lack of experience. So with the karmas of Rahu, you can't really chastise or, you know what I'm saying, just get the stepping on motherfuckers' heads with the karmas of Rahu. They must be allotted some type of space or some type of block of time in order to really, work through, express, and learn how to really cultivate that particular identity. And that's kind of like white people, you feel me? Like, you know what I'm saying? I guess you can point to certain behaviors that white people might embody or display, the lack of rhythm, not to get racist once again, you know what I'm saying? Not to get to the motherfucking, you know what I'm saying? We was kings and give me my lemon pepper barbecue wings so I could sit on the corner and, thump my Bible and talk shit about Harry Potter. Like, I'm not trying to get into that, you feel me? Just merely speaking on certain things, you feel me? As what people generally stereotype white people to be and black people as well. So yeah, but yeah, we can say white people lack rhythm or, they don't wash as much or, just the different things that people, you know, have observed and the different conclusions or the generalizations that we like to put upon the right race or whatever, right? Now, not to say that we should accept these things because we shouldn't, right? Because these things are a clear indicator that there is a aberration within the genetic code sequence of the race of individuals we call white people, right? It's a clear aberration that, okay, it's something wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's something that needs to be corrected or whatnot. But at the same time, like this type of entity hasn't really been allotted the position or the ability to rule, govern, raise thyself. You know what I'm saying? Like to be a real powerful factor on a world stage, or you know what I'm saying, to really explore the higher levels of consciousness or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Really haven't been allotted or allowed, excuse me, to do that. So, you know, I feel like one of the ways or one of the reasons they was allowed to like proliferate and, really do what they did over the past, you know what I'm saying, especially over the past couple hundred years or whatnot, is because they simply had an empty karma. It's like, okay, especially with the so-called Moors or whatnot, you know what I'm saying, and how, us being the so-called nobility, us having the right state of mind, us having the right level of knowledge, understanding, cultivation, us having an extremely deep level of understanding of, what I'm saying, karmic repercussion, uh, you know, spiritual fortitude, us coming to a point to where we had a collective realization to where there was going to be these white people in the future and they was going to do the Balkarist acts upon the planet. Like that was like a collective prophecy. You know what I'm saying? And motherfuckers was fearful of behind it. People was split upon, you know what I'm saying, what should be done. Should we kill these motherfuckers? Or, you know what I'm saying, should we try to civilize them, you know what I'm saying, help them uplift themselves and whatnot. It was different conflicting uh it was mixed conflicting factions behind what should be done with this group of people and whatnot, right? But I just had a brain fart. But yeah, anyway, regardless, you know what I'm saying? We had enough knowledge and understanding to know better. So it's like Big Brother. Big Brother is like, let's say Big Brother is 19 and little brother is 2 years old or whatever. You're not going to hold the 19-year-old and the 2-year-old to the same standard, expectation, and karma, right? You're just not. You feel me? The 2-year-old can hit the 19-year-old, punch him in the jaw, slap him across the face, whatever. You're not going to hold the 2-year-old to the same repercussions or the same standards. Some parents might pop a little bit or say, hey, you can't do that. But if you catch a 19-year-old punching a 2-year-old, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just definitely a much heavier karmic repercussion and expectation out of that. And the thing is, some of us dark skin, or you know what I'm saying, quote unquote Moors, or people who were black, right? Some of us, right? A good amount, enough of us had did ungodly acts and things to this group of people that we pretty much had to suffer some strenuous reprimanding, i.e., you know what I'm saying, the white rulership as we know it as today, the colonization of the Americas and whatnot, and you feel me, the 9 to 5, you feel me, the taxes, you feel me, all of these different things or whatever. It's karma, you know what I'm saying, that we had to suffer, that we had to deal with collectively, and it's the K2 which is showing that peace moon. I appreciate you for being here. I'm saying I'm talking on some astrology and how we can tie to different, you know what I'm saying, races and whatnot. You probably don't want to listen to this, which is cool. I still appreciate you for popping up. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. But yeah, shit, what was I saying? Damn, I lost my damn train of thought. Uh, yeah, K2. So K2, as black people, is showing the strenuous karma, or the burning karma that has to be experienced in order to like fry away, like put fire to the deep seated errors within the subconscious. You know what I'm saying? The deep seated egotistical barriers and things that's pretty much keeping us from ascending as a collective, right? That's K2. A lot of traumatizing things can happen in regards to the K2 placement. Doesn't always have to be, right? It really depends upon the individual's ability to understand the code that is wrong, and what do I need to release? What do I need to detox? What do I need to detach from in order to correct this particular code? If a person can get that, the K2 is fine. The K2, bestows a wealth of understanding. It bestows a wealth of peace, clarity, you know what I'm saying, spiritual embodiment that, yogis and, monks and all of these different types of individuals attain and whatnot, right? That's K2's goal and purpose. Like, it's really peace. It is the karaka of moksha. It's not just there to make a motherfucker feel crazy, or, bipolar, or just cause instability, and just to be past life, and you know what I'm saying, you just need to leave the past life alone. It's not about that, right? And to be honest, you know, when it comes to the Rahu and the Ketu aspect, there is an expectancy of working together, working in unison. It's a lot of people that don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Especially in regards to what I'm about to say. It's a lot of people who are, on both sides of the coin. It's a lot of white people who feel like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, it's white power. It's white race. You feel me? Oh, we don't want to work with those N words and their fried chicken, watermelon eating, and big nose having, loud music listening. You feel me? Like it's white people on that side. You feel me? Who have that mentality, and you know what? They have the freedom of expression to have that mentality. You feel me? That's their karma. And there's also black people. You feel me? It's a good number of black people who feel like, you know what I'm saying. Oh, white people. All white people is the devil, and you know what I'm saying. They're no lip having, mayonnaise tasting. You know what I'm saying. All these different expressions or whatever. How is Rahu Ketu and how is Ketu Rahu? I don't know what you mean by that. You gotta explain that a little more. But Yeah. So yeah, but it's people on both sides of the coin who feel like we need to do things only our way. But that's really the problem. That's a huge part of the problem. What we need to do is understand where we're at currently, the resources that we currently have, and how to unite in a peaceable and an amicable manner in order to properly manage the system, in order to properly work through the Rahu Ketu axis. You feel me? Uh, the experience of the quote unquote European, the pale European rather, this experience going through the different forms of deception. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the demonic craft, which ain't really start with them, but the Rahu Force always been around. But I guess you can just say it's just more so attributed to this particular race as of now, right? But the deceptive tactics, the underhanded dealing, you feel me, the erasure of history or the cover up of history, the switcheroo, the destiny swap, all of these different things or whatever, it's hard experience. It's difficult. It's definitely wrong, but it is experience that adds to the wisdom, and it adds to the understanding standing ability of the collective of the individual if we're able to know that, hey, you feel me, back then when so and so had sympathy, or when so and so you know thought he was doing a good deed by doing a certain thing, maybe you should be more cautious, maybe you should be more, you know what I'm saying, slow to action, or maybe you should approach the situation from a different angle. Not to say that it has to be violent, not to say that it has to be pure rejection, but you feel me? Maybe you should be more aware and able to see through the illusion. First of all, right? Knowing how to see through the illusion. That's also an ability of Rahu. You feel me? And when you bring Rahu to Ketu, it helps Ketu see through the BS, see through the illusion. It can may help in a hard way, but you know what I'm saying? It helps nonetheless. And just got a notification, my fault. But yeah, shit, what was I? Rahu and Ketu needing to work together. The races needing to come together and to bring what each race has to the table in order to sustain what we have left of the earth. You know what I'm saying? The resources that we have left, and to correct bullshit that's on both sides, right? And we can really even bring it back to the story of the Samudra Manthan, right? The gods and the demons, right? Supposed to be coexisting. I feel like you know what I'm saying. We not supposed to be going we not supposed to be beefing like on a constancy. Like that's you can do that if you want to, but it's like, really, what is to gain out of this? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is to gain through constant beefs? You know what I'm saying? Multi-million year beefs, and then in different motherfucking bodysuits or whatever people want. Like, what is to gain through this experience? Is this just something that niggas doing for fun? Is niggas just doing it because niggas is bored and niggas just want to see blood spill and whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's not necessarily an intelligent thing. Competition is not necessarily a bad thing, especially in a friendly manner, but really, what are we beefing for if we're all a part of the same universe? It's like two brothers growing up in the same household, and you causing a bunch of chaos and commotion in the same household because for some reason you you fail to have a sense of unity or a sense of belonging to this other being, this other entity, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. Like, whether you want to acknowledge, these people, whether you want to acknowledge, you feel me, that we share similarities or we share a connection, you feel me, because, oh, they white, or oh, they black, or you feel me, oh, you know what I'm saying, it's beard patched up, whatever you want to call it, right? Whether you want to acknowledge that, whether or not, you want to acknowledge that, you feel me, this other person is connected to you, and it would best behoove the both of y'all to find a way to reach some sort of peaceability, right? It really would be the best thing to do, but you know what I'm saying? More so happen in a perfect universe and whatnot. I had my shit on mute. But yeah, damn, what was I saying? Anybody got any questions? I don't know, something they want to point to? I don't know if you still here, but I don't know what you mean by how is Rahu Ketu and how Ketu is Rahu. Unless you mean that they both connected, which, you know what I'm saying? Oh, shit. Might do a part two on this shit or something. Is there anything I can say last before I slide out? Uh, yeah, shit. Ain't nobody got no questions or whatnot. Yeah, I probably got down pop in and do a second video on this shit. Uh, Said I appreciate the little likes and whatnot. Appreciate everybody who came through. Well, last morning.